Super Rugby final round, folks. Opening game saw the Crusaders host the Hurricanes, and they gave them a hiding. 47 points to 14. How much do we read into this? Probably not that much, because the Hurricanes rotated their squad, but I still think the Crusaders are looking a bit dangerous. They have been coming into some form in the latter points of the season, and boy, that new stadium is looking a peach. They would love to be down there next week for a playoff game. They've done their part. With this result, they put themselves into third, but it depends what happens with the Chiefs and Blues tomorrow as to whether the Crusaders finish third or fourth, which is the difference between being home or away. For the Hurricanes, maybe you lose a bit of momentum, but ultimately 13 players changed. They'll be back home next week. First spot was already secured, so there wasn't that much riding on it for them. We'll go through some of the key events and stats. You guys can let us know your thoughts. The only thing that really went wrong, I think, for the Crusaders was the halftime fireworks. Left a thick layer of smoke lingering over the stadium for like 20-odd minutes in the second half. Indoor stadium and fireworks. Maybe that's not the best combination, but it didn't affect the game. But it's about the only thing that went wrong. And maybe there's one stat that I'll get to at the end, which they won't like, which the Crusaders won't like. It's a defensive stat, but we'll get to that at the end. Crusaders tries. Reese gets the first one after a large period of pressure. They did muck up the restart, which allowed the Canes to strike straight back. Set up like a line-out, then a scrum. Roygaard had a weak snipe. Good to see Roygaard back. He played 40 minutes. Good to see Lomax back. Played 40 minutes, so they both have a hand in the Hurricanes' first try. You know, Roygaard with a snipe, and he gets the ball away to Brad Shields, so 7 points apiece. But, like, apart from some errors, like kicking for penalties dead and passes into touch and whatnot, the Crusaders were looking better. Fihaki managed to get a pilfer, turnover ball. The Crusaders turn it on. Havili, Leo, Willie, Reese, Hotham with the support line. Try time. McNichol gets one after a Hotham kind of half break. I mean, Havili, Fihaki again. McNichol grounds it, maybe just barely, but 21 points to 7. And then it's starting to become a rout when Leo Willie goes over not too long later. I mean, contestable aerial ball, nice offloads. Again, the Crusaders' handling was very, very nice. Remember, Will Jordan's out for the season, but geez, these other backs and the Crusaders were looking the part. 26-7 at halftime. Yeah. And they've lost their starting 10 as well, the Crusaders, so they're doing this with a little bit of disruption. Territory is 57-43, possession 62-38. The Crusaders are dominant. Line breaks 8-1. Defenders beaten 20-7. And the Hurricanes lineout is poor. Like Tupu comes in. You can't put it just under the hooker, but I swear when that guy's throwing the ball in for the Canes, their lineout numbers are worse. Second half starts and both sides make a heap of changes. Roygaard and Lomax, like I said, last half the game, but the changes are galore for both sides because they're both in the playoffs next week anyway, and it maybe affects like some of the finishing. There's a little bit too much eagerness. There's a little bit too many forced passes. There's some wild passes, some great offloads. Jamie Hanna with a ripper of a wild ball, but nothing happens from it until 62 minutes when Letziu gets one for the Crusaders. And again, it's a Severis who starts up with a wee break. And despite some desperate Hurricanes tackles, the Crusaders are able to get Letziu over. So 33 points to 7. The Hurricanes did reply through Rakete Stones, but it's literally been an hour since their first score. So they made it, 33-14? First 22 entry of the second half, and they did score from it, and it took them 30 minutes to get into the Crusaders 22. That's a bit of a worry, but the fact that they scored is good. But then Preston immediately replies for the Crusaders, so those 7 points are just wiped off. 40 points up for the Crusaders. And then, McLeod gets kind of a gift bit of turnover ball for the Crusaders deep down in the Hurricanes 22 as the Hurricanes are just trying to force things, and Reese is able to score and convert the bloody try from the sideline. From the sideline. So 2 tries for Sever Reese. He starts and he finishes it in his 100th and he gets a conversion. Not a bad outing for that man. So massive, massive result. But like I said, it's a Hurricanes much changed team, so it's hard to read too much into it, but it can only be good for the Crusaders to get this kind of form, to put the points that they did. And like I said, it's maybe a little bit of a wobble from the Hurricanes, even if they were resting guys. You like to just keep winning, right? Keep the momentum. Brad Shields said that, they wanted to go down and get the win. Not even close. Line breaks, 16-4. 22 entries, though, is the stat that I find interesting, because 22 entries, 16 by the Crusaders. They scored 7 tries, which is not a bad conversion rate, but the Crusaders only allowed 22 entries and they conceded 2 tries. So that's both good and bad. You only allowed 22 entries, which is very limiting, but both times you did, you scored. So give the Hurricanes a bit of credit there. Individuals, Reese beat 8 defenders, scored his 2 tries. Polico, the number 8 for the Hurricanes, pretty inexperienced player, 20 tackles. Leo Willie, 17 carries. So there were some big performances all round. Turnovers conceded was 23-25, which I think reflects on the second half being a little bit loose. But yeah, possession and territory with the Crusaders, very much deserved winners. You guys let us know your thoughts. Advantage Crusaders in terms of finishing in the top 3, because the Blues will have a big job beating the Chiefs down in Hamilton, but now the Blues have definitely got something even more to play for. I'm a little bit pessimistic. I feel like we might be going down to Christchurch in a week's time, but we'll see how the results unfold on Saturday. You guys let me know your thoughts on this one. Take care, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.